is. Opening night, Spartan Stadium, always very exciting. I think that every place in America, as I said earlier this week, a lot of optimism throughout the country. You look at Utah State, you look at Michigan State, both programs have, I think Utah State has the third most starters back in the country, and maybe we tie for first or so. So a lot of experience on the football field Friday night, so it'll be exciting. I look at Utah State very quickly, and I look at them as a total football team. Their special teams stand out, outstanding punter. They blocked 4 punts last year, turned 1 for a touchdown as well, and make things happen on special teams. Defensively, they were number 6 in the country in terms of taking away the football, 29 turnovers. So they'll get after you, present a lot of different looks, and then offensively, no huddle type thing. And they're going as fast as anybody in the country. I've been impressed with their quarterback. Tailback from a JC, they've just named him the starter. I think he's from Independence, Darwin Thompson, which I think he's the guy that's got explosiveness and things of that nature. They've got some transfers playing for him that are transferred in, a wide receiver from USC. So remains to be seen, a couple guys we haven't seen on film a little bit, but I'm sure they'll come here ready to play, and will be exciting. So I'll take some questions.
Mark, you mentioned after Andrew Maxwell came that one of you felt mistakes with Andrew was that you didn't develop guys and give experience when there was experienced guys there. With your 2 backups having never played, have you developed a plan for that, how you plan on getting those guys reps, looking back on the mistakes of the past?
Well, I think at that point in time, games are sort of tight. And so when you look at 2011, as I remember it, the games were tight. So, you play to win, and we're going to play our guys that are starters. And obviously, if there's an opportunity, we're going to get in our other guys. But I think the game experience, I think Rocky Lombardi is prepared to play. Theo is on his way, and we'll see what we can do. But bottom line is win the football game.
Mark, obviously you guys have a lot of restrictions on when you can practice, 2 days, no longer, all that kind of thing. Last year you were incredibly young. This year you have all this experience. How much more prepared are you now than last year?
Well, we have a lot more game experience. There's no question about that. And I think that's a big part of it. When you go out there and you play in practice, and then you have to put it out there, on the game field. Obviously there's a difference. So we have that. Utah State has that. Coach Wells has done an outstanding job there. I think he's in his, I believe, 6th year. So it'll be interesting. But to answer your question, I think it's easier, no question. But to go out there and perform at a higher level, you should be more prepared. But every game is different. I think that every play, really, in the game of football almost has a life of its own, and every player in that particular play has to perform as well.
Mark, Matt Wells yesterday was saying, he was talking about your guys' front seven, how good it was, and saying that they hope to see if they could wear you down with their pace and tempo. How much more, is it more challenging to face that week 1 versus week 4 or 5, whatever?
Well, I think that, first of all, you recognize that aspect these days in college football. Most teams do that, so we're prepared for that. We practice against that. We provide that type of up-tempo type of practice by really running 3 huddles that are defense. So we're snapping the ball every 10 or 12 seconds at our defense. So, but I'm sure that is something that they do a nice job running in, throwing the football. They have a deep ball threat, throw a lot of deep balls, and I think their screen game is very good as well. Very, very good. Been impressed with their tight end, and I'm very impressed with their quarterback, Jordan Love.
Coach, right down here in front. There's only so much you can do and prove before game action starts, but as you look back to a year ago when you broke camp to game 1, what was the biggest improvement you could cite and chart and kind of get a sense of where you were going a year ago? And similarly this year, when you break camp to right now, what's the biggest improvement that your team's made?
I think tough question, because last year was getting guys, last year's camp, we had a lot of young players. We had, like I said, 12 catches returning on our football team, and maybe 9 yards of rushing. So, we had new guys. I guess we had LJ back, but we had quite a few new guys in terms of other than him. So the most important thing was getting experience, and we got that in the first game last year. I think this year it's get our young players that may play involved early in the season, allow them to mature a little bit, and then start to build a foundation in terms of who we are. I think every year you build a foundation. You know, who's the playmakers, who's the guys that you can rely on, where's the team chemistry, where's your leadership, and those type of things. A lot of that has already happened last year, so I think that's the reason for optimism. But there are no easy football games. I think we understand that here. We need to come and play.
Hello. Mark, how do you and your staff want to manage Brian's running ability? Obviously it proved to be a weapon last year, and then, as Hondo said, not a lot of experience behind him. Just how do you guys, how would you ideally like to manage how he's able to do that?
Well, that's a tough one. Sometimes you need to run a quarterback. I think you have to create that threat, and other times he creates it by sort of ad-libbing a little bit. So, you know, you can't tell it, you really can't forecast when that's going to happen. So, especially in past situations. So, we got to keep him healthy. I don't think there's any question about that. He needs to stay healthy. I hope all of our players stay healthy. We can't afford to lose anybody. And but you know, you go play the game to win, and they all count one, as Coach Perlis used to say. They all count one, and that's our focus.
Mark, can you talk a little bit about the offensive line situation, Cole and Luke, and where that spot is at left tackle, and also you touched on the linebackers, about what have Brandon and Tyreek done in terms of trying to seize that job?
Yeah, you know, there's some competition at linebacker. I think that, you know, we'll travel with 10 linebackers, which, you know, I really think that 9 of them pretty much can play in and out. So that's a good situation. I think Tyreek's had a good camp. I think Brandon Randall is much improved. Who plays when they play is really up to them how they perform in that football game. But they both had points in the summer where you say, well, that was special. So, you know, I'm excited to watch them because they're both young players and this is their first real opportunities in that area. But we got other guys that are going to play in there as well. You know, really, you know, like I said, Bullock can play over there, Reschke can play over there. So, you know, Noah Harvey's been good. So there's 5 linebackers who can play the mighty linebacker position. So now they got to play well, but there is depth.
And the offensive line.
Offensive line, you know, we all really, 5 of those guys, 5 to 6, have a significant amount of experience. Matt Allen, a little bit less, obviously. But 5 to 6 guys have, 5 to 7 guys, I guess. 6 to 7, I don't know what it is. But we got experience in the offensive line, and we can play guys around. Luke can play at offensive guard, he can play left tackle, he can play right tackle. So there's a variety of places he can play. You know, same with Tyler Higby, he can move around in different places, and I think that's an advantage.
Mark, obviously game situations dictate this to a large degree, but have you thought about how many freshmen might see action in the opener, and how do you manage it differently with the new rule?
Yeah, we sort of looked at that. I think with the new rule, if a guy plays, you have to ask yourself, is he going to play continuously, or is he playing because of an injury to another player for a little bit, and then maybe this is his one game, then maybe he's at the end of the season. But we're not going to play our guys just to play. There's going to be a process there. We've got some guys that we may want to hold till the end of the season where they possibly know the game a little bit better at this level. But I really believe we probably have about, I don't know, 7 freshmen, 6 or 7 freshmen that could play this year. And now whether they play tomorrow, I mean the other 3 days and 8 hours from now, remains to be seen, because I think that we want to make sure that we have them for the end of the year, and maybe want to still try and maintain their red shirt throughout. So we'll take our time and see how that works.
Mark, even some of your best defenses early struggled with that tempo, and that became, but in recent years, and maybe you track this differently, but it seems like that hasn't been an issue. I'm wondering, that focus over time, what have you guys done to make that not an issue in preparation over the last few years?
Experience helps, obviously, and then, you know, our practice habits. And then also we've adopted some of that aspect of the game as well, so we're capable of doing that with our offense. The other thing is that we play against it so much more often, and players are playing against it in high school as well. So they're seeing it, they're introduced to it at a younger age, and when they come up here, it's just a matter of transferring that to the college level. I do think that there's always that you have to adapt as the game flows on. You have to be able to adapt to that particular football team that you're playing and the speed of the game. We can replicate it as much as we want. We can even go faster than they do because we have our numbers. We have 120 players here, but it's still not with the intensity or with the aptitude that Utah State's going to bring.
Mark, can you, not so much you, but can your players ever get too amped up for an opener, when they'll game in the locker room or in the tunnel, and the opener more than any other game, does it take kind of a half a quarter to settle down?
You'd have to ask them that question. I just believe in total focus. Are they up and excitement and enthusiasm if they need to have focus. And, they know what it needs to be done, need to get themselves ready to do that and quietly prepare. And enthusiasm in the locker room, does that carry out into the field? 10, 15 minutes later, you might see a great highlight film and be all amped up and go out on the field and just sort of, or it might be the opposite. So I'm a little bit more interested in how are they at game time and game moments, as they play. That to me tells the story.
Excuse me, I asked a little bit about Joe Bocci, but what do you think about the linebacker history here at Michigan State, even in your time going back to Greg Jones and Max and these other guys? Where do you think Joe kind of sits in all that? What makes him unique? Where does he kind of stand in this?
Well, he's had a sophomore season, an outstanding sophomore season, and Greg Jones was a two-time All-American. These other guys that were great players as well, Max and Riley. So he's built a foundation. What he does on that foundation this year, and then the next year will define him. But I think that he has the mindset, the skill level, and the intensity to be as good as any of those guys. He's an outstanding athlete.
Sorry about that. Which side of the ball, offense or defense, do you feel better about right now heading into a game? And is it
That's a tough question.
Is it harder or easier for one side or the other to execute earlier in the season, to execute at a high level versus the other?
I can't tell you which direction then we'd go with that answer. I think we can perform at a high level on both sides of the ball, but we're going to have to see. You're going to have to tell me after the game. I'm sure I'll get that question after the game.
Mark, with LJ coming back this year, is there any area in particular, I guess, that you think he's really looked to improve in terms of taking the next step for himself?
Well,
individually?
he's got to hold on to the football. I don't think there's any question about that, which he was very good really the two previous years, I felt. So, but he had some hits, some blocking assignments, maybe not made or whatever the case. So, they're playing football on the other side of the ball, and they're on scholarship too. And we play an incredible schedule and play against the best maybe in America. But I would say that's it. I think his knowledge of the game has improved over the course of time, just as a college player, and I think he'll be ready to play, and I think he's ready to play. So I think he's looking forward to this season, and there's a reason he came back, and he's looking forward to it.
Mark, with Rush, I know it was a process this Tampa kind of knocking the rust off for him and getting back into it. I wonder where you kind of seen him in the last couple of days, and what's the reasonable expectation for him?
We're going to play him as we play all our players, really. And he's been out of football for 2 years, but I think he'll show up on some special teams and different areas. But he's done what he's needed to do. Our football team feels as they do about him. And so I've sort of, continue to watch that situation, but it sort of is what it is. The other two guys deserve an opportunity to play, the guys we've talked about earlier. And, but I'm sure he'll see the field in some capacity.
Coach, you mentioned every year setting a foundation, but there's something special about the story of 2013 when you walked out on the Rose Bowl field and you had a feeling, maybe it was intangible, about what that team was capable of. What feeling do you have about this year's team, the intangibles that measure up, and how does it compare?
Well, I think I got a feeling about our football team when I would watch them and I went to that early morning workout and I talked about Heath. You know, I just have a good feeling, and I've said it all along, and I've never really, you know, I really don't come in here and try and con anybody. I got a good feeling for them as people. I think they care about each other, and I think they're unselfish. And you start with that. When you want to build a great football team, you usually start with something like that. And there's playmakers on the football team on both sides of the ball, but you know, we've got some other areas we need to improve in, just like any other football team, and we're going to be challenged. We'll be challenged in every area, and that'll start with Utah State on, you know, on Friday night.
We haven't talked a lot about special teams during camp. I guess where are you at in the return job with Cody and Connor? And is there a juggling act you have to do? Is their role increased in the offense, and also the long snapper situation too?
Yeah, you know, we've worked, you know, special teams, and that'll be a challenge this Friday night, because I do really believe that Utah State brings a hungry football team in here, especially from a special teams perspective. You know, Cody is back there. He's done an outstanding job this summer. We've had 4 different guys return punts last year, so I think all of our guys are very capable of returning punts. So, but he gets the nod there, I think. And then as our snapper right now, Ryan Armour's the guy, but we may use both. Catholic was back from last year, but you know, so it's very even. I mean, both of them are very good. So Hayward's our kick returner, but we can put Darryl Stewart back there. So we got a lot of different ways to go with that. So we'll see where we're at as we move forward. And but there's no question that it's a big part of the game, and we work extremely hard at that aspect.
Mark, piggybacking off the idea that you don't come in here to con anybody. Obviously, you're not prone to overstatement and overhyping. Aside from the chemistry, the feeling you get in that way with this team, what specifically do you like about this team that makes
From a tangible aspect?
Special? Yeah.
Well, we got a tailback back that I think can play in the NFL. Our offensive line is back. We've got guys up there that can bench 400 pounds across the board. We've got good wide receivers in there, caught about 150 passes, or 160 probably. You know, so we've got a lot of catches back. We've got guys who've had big games at the wide receiver position, whether it's Darryl Stewart, Cody White, you know, Felton Davis. They've all had big games. We've got a quarterback back that counts for about 3,200 yards and 25 touchdowns. I think we're in a system, our coaches on the offensive side of the back, so there's a system so that we can critique those things. On the defensive side of the ball, we didn't lose anybody in the secondary. You know, all our linebackers are back with the exception of Chris Fry. We lost 1 player on the defensive front. So we've got a lot of players back that from a football team that ranked number 2 in the nation against the run, and played pretty well against the pass as well. With all that said, we need to play and tackle in space and do the things we need to do. You know, on the special teams, I think our punter is back. I think Matt Kaufman had a pretty good year last year. Hit the crossbar, which is difficult to do 3 times, but so we really missed 1, and he was inches away from making the rest. And I think we've got guys who run down on special teams with experience. So when you look at our starters, it's not just that. It's you know, our kickoff team is almost unchanged in a lot of ways. So we've got a lot of players back that have done these other things as well. So, and again, I go back to the intangibles, the unselfishness, you know, the experience, the knowledge of their position, and all that sends a strong message to you. You should feel good about it. But this is a new day. This is 2018, and you know, like I said, you know, there's a reason that I put my name, and I have everybody put their name on their helmets when we go to camp, because we're all starting over, and there are no guarantees, and we need to play, and we need to get ready to play and go about our business. That's what I would say. That's a pretty good scouting report, though.
Hey Mark, Josh Butler's #1 cornerback with Josiah down. How has he responded to this and the guys behind him, the trade person especially? How has that been a competition?
Yeah, very, very good. You know, Josh came here. We brought Josh here from Dallas, Texas. He was a highly recruited guy, and was a very good player. Reminded me a lot of Ronaldo Hill. I've always said that. I never coached Ronaldo, and he played in the NFL for 11 years. So he's been waiting for these opportunities. Did a little bit last year as a redshirt sophomore. Now he's a junior, so now he's a redshirt junior. So now he's into, I think, his 4th year. So he's experienced, and he knows what to do and how to do it. Been impressed with Shakur Brown and Trey Pearson as well, and also Kalen Gervin, who's a true freshman. Those three guys, and then Davion Williams and Chris Jackson are two guys with a lot of talent that are true freshmen as well. So we can miss Josiah out there for a bit yet, but I do think we have guys that can play out there with speed and ball skills.
Yeah, one more. Last time you talked after a game of sorts with the Green White game, the first thing you said after that, if I remember correctly, was kickoff didn't really play up to your specifications. It was a cold day, the football was cold that day and so forth, but
Yeah,
two redshirt
windy and cold.
Yeah. Tyler Hunt and Cole Hahn are listed as either or kickoff. Game starts with the kickoff. Is that improved? What are your feelings about that now?
Yeah, Matt Coughlin can kick off as well. So those three guys, and two of them are inexperienced. Cole Hahn and Tyler Hunt are inexperienced. So they have their moments where they're kicking the ball out of the end zone consistently, and then they've had their moments where they're, they're a little less than that. But they need to be more consistent. And game time is different, so that remains to be. That's a little bit up in the air as we go into game week. It always is. It seems like, and they're both young players. They're both redshirt freshmen, so they're both young players, but both have talent. Then Matt gives us a guy with experience that has done that. Probably is not as great of a leg, maybe, but he's got experience and can get it up. So we're going to see what's going to happen. That's one to watch.
Anything else, guys?
Good to go.
Thanks.